Hey, everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
You're listening to the Sportsman's Nation Podcast Network, powered by Interstate Batteries. From your truck to your trail camera, Interstate Batteries has you covered. Visit your local Interstate Battery store today or online at interstatebatteries.com. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and I'm the host of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I'll also be your host into the world of hunting the icon of North American wilderness, the bear. We'll talk about tactics, gear, conservation, but we'll also bring you into some of the wildest country on the planet, chasing bear. Welcome to the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. We're at the global headquarters today, and we are going to be talking about our gear list for going on a spring do-it-yourself hunt in Montana. Okay, so this podcast is going to be pretty technical in terms of the gear that we use, what we're just going through a list, and basically we're going through my personal packing list for going out west. And so that's what we're going to be doing. I've got with me in the office Colby Moorhead. I introduced Colby a couple of podcasts ago, but Colby works for Bear Hunting Magazine now full time. So Colby's doing all kind of stuff for us. Ryan Greb named him the Bear Hunting Magazine Bear Tech. I call him my tech nerd. Well, how would you describe your job here, Colby? You've been here for almost 2 months now.
Almost 2 months, yeah. See a need, fill a need.
See a need, fill a need. Yep.
I don't know that you could put it in a title.
Maybe Bear Tech is the best thing.
Yeah,
You're
I like it.
Bear Tech. I mean, pretty much the goal of Bear Hunting Magazine is to promote conservation and bear hunting and best practices inside of bear hunting. So that's pretty much what you support, all underlying foundational things inside of doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's interesting, though, is just today, Colby Moorhead learned that he's going to Montana with me. Oh, man.
My legs aren't even Arkansas ready yet.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Man, really, I threw a wrench at Colby this morning. But I have, to give a little bit of background before we start into this gear list, I've been to Montana on a do-it-yourself hunt 2 different times. I believe 2015 and 2017 I went to Montana. The first Montana hunt that I did was I took my wife with me and we did a backpack hunt. We packed back in, and so we were only using gear that we could carry on our packs. My pack was about 55 to 60 pounds. Her pack was about 40 pounds. And we hiked back in about 5 miles and stayed for 5 days. Okay. Never came out. That was that was our first big step into Western backcountry hunting. The second hunt that I did was in 2017, I believe, and I went with Jim Sessions of Best of the West Rifles and Huskama Optics, and we used his mules and horses to pack in. And so each of us had an animal that we rode, and each of us had an animal that carried all our gear. And so we got to carry a lot more gear. Typically, an equine animal that you're packing can carry between, as much as 200 pounds of gear, usually more like 150 pounds of gear. And so all of a sudden your limitations for what you could bring become a little bit more luxurious when you've got equine animals. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting around to why you're going with me, Colby. So I've been planning this hunt in my mind for a long time, and I wanted somebody to film. I want to make a film for the YouTube channel. I also want somebody that's able to take photography, take photos and do stuff for the magazine, obviously. But the main thing is that I didn't know exactly when I was going to go. I just kind of refused to just like pick an arbitrary date on the calendar and just go, I'm going to go this week. And most normal people that have normal jobs that you want to go hunting with, you have to have some pretty significant prep time. And I just couldn't do that because it was weather dependent, and there was many other variables on a business side of it that I didn't know when I was going to leave, right? And so Colby Moorhead works for me now. So Colby was Mr. Flexible inside of this deal. And Colby and I have hunted together before, but this will be the first big do-it-yourself Western deal. Mm-hmm. And so that's a primary reason. Colby may end up with a bear tag. We're going to get up there and assess the situation. When Misty and I went up there in 2015, both of us bought tags, $350 tags, and neither one of us ever had a shot at a bear. So Colby's going with me. I'm going to have a tag. If we get into some bears and feel like success is probable, we may go back into town, get him a tag. We realize he's got to wait 24 hours before he can hunt, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll just see. The way that I'm hunting is, and I wanted to talk about this. I mentioned this on my podcast the other day, is that I've got two buddies up in Montana that have kind of helped me find some areas and have kind of given me a leg up a little bit on finding locations. Well, not a little bit. They pretty much said, hey, this is the region you need to go in. And they're locals, and they're having success on bear. They are killing bears pretty regularly themselves, or people that are up there around them, by walking roads and just glassing clear cuts and being mobile. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they're not doing this backcountry deal where they're going way back in. They're pretty much driving around in the evenings and glassing cuts and going, hopping around to a lot of different locations trying to find a bear. The last time that I went, I kind of fell in love with the style of hunting that we did, which was an equine-based backcountry hunt. And that is what I want to do. That's the way that I want to kill a bear in Montana. So last year we went up there and we didn't kill a bear. We hunted for 6 days and never had opportunity at a bear for the second time in a row. And so my buddies are like, Clay, you're doing this wrong. If you stayed in a hotel and drove around in your truck, you could probably kill a bear a lot easier. And I'm not above that in any way, but the older I get, the more I want to do things in a certain way. And to me, a backcountry do-it-yourself hunt, using these mules that I've got, these animals, to me would be really significant. And so I've kind of made the decision that's the way I want to do it. Because to me the West is so iconic of using equine animals for hunting. And actually, when I first got Izzy, the mule that I've currently got that I'll be riding, I trained her from scratch, and the whole idea, when I got her, I envisioned taking her to Montana. And obviously I use her mostly here in Arkansas, but I envisioned taking her to Montana. and that vision has not died. Some things evaporate, some dreams evaporate, and some do not.
Yeah.
And that dream has not evaporated. And so we're going to Montana, and we're borrowing a mule from my buddy Trey Autry.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever met Trey?
No.
He was on the podcast, but you weren't here when he was here.
Yeah.
He's a squirrel hunter.
Yeah.
So Smokey. So if you watched our killer squirrel hunting video called $100 Squirrel, Trey Autry is he rides a mule named Smokey.
Mm-hmm.
Colby, you will be riding Smokey.
Yeah. Trial by fire. I get on a mule the first time, and we're going up a mountain.
Man, you're perfect. You don't have a family.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So it's kind of like you're, indispensable, I guess. Is that the right word? Is that the word I'm looking for?
I don't know about that.
Okay. It's kind of like, it doesn't matter if he comes home or not. No, I'm just kidding. No, the reason we put you on Smokey, and I've been negotiating with Trey all morning, not negotiating. He was like, heck yeah, you can take him.
Yeah.
But we got to get him shod before next week. There's a few things, but Smokey's super safe. He's like 15 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty short. Colby's not the tallest guy in the room.
No.
And I'm not very tall either, so if that tells you anything.
I don't have to duck a whole lot.
Yeah. So Smokey is like probably 13 and a half hands, and he's kind of a deadhead. And so we don't need speed out there. We just need sure-footedness and just forward movement.
Yeah.
So, Smokey and Izzy have traveled quite a bit together, so they'll do good. So, and the other reason that you had to be pulled into this so quickly was my buddy Brent was going to go with me.
Yeah.
Okay. And just in the last 48 hours, there's been another bear hunt planned this spring that Brent is going to go with me on. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's like all of a sudden this Montana trip had a hole in it. I needed somebody. So I was like, Colby, let's go.
Yeah, because this was the flexible trip too.
Yeah, this was the flexible trip. So it's going to be super fun. We got a lot of work to do between now and when we leave. But this podcast is going to actually help us as we think about planning.
Yeah. Seems natural.
Yeah. Well, I want to start off by saying that I'm not a gearhead. Colby kind of is.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I've ventured into it.
Yeah.
Haven't done
you're pretty technically, you enjoy like searching out the gear and looking at different products and
the
really
research. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of YouTube.
And see, I'm the exact opposite of that. Like, I'm a minimalist at heart. But at the same time, I think I've been pretty effective with the gear that I use on these not just backcountry like these two do-it-yourself deals, but I've hunted a lot, traveling and hunted a lot in the last 5 years, and backcountry hunted here in Arkansas. And you don't want to be limited by your gear. I think that's the thing, and that's what I live by. Is I never want my gear to be a reason for not being successful. So even though I don't enjoy the technical side of gear stuff, I can navigate my way through it. And typically what I do is just buy the absolute best stuff possible. Mm-hmm. That's just a good way to go. But I do believe it's a lot simpler than people make it sometimes.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people enjoy it, like you, Colby, enjoy gear stuff, and so you talk a lot about it. And to somebody who doesn't enjoy gear stuff, then it becomes like stressful. It's like, well, I had no idea that there were so many options for freeze-dried meals. Mm-hmm. I'm happy with what I've got, So I think sometimes it can be confusing for somebody who doesn't like gear to listen to a podcast where they just dissect like 2 different types of gear for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, man, tell me which is the best one, and I'll get through it.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of a rugged mentality of being a minimalist that I think is good, but also there's something really good to be said for somebody that's really good at planning and strategizing and getting the best gear. And so, I don't think either one of those positions is superior to the other,
Yeah.
So what we're gonna talk about, we've got a list here of stuff, and I told Colby before we started this that I didn't want us to just like make a gear list for a spring bear hunt, just like off the internet, just like reading saying this would be a good idea. Like I really went through and thought about the things that I bring, and because I've never gotten out in the woods and wished I had something different. I really haven't, or got out there and realized that there was some massive hole in my gear list. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So that being said, this gear list could easily be put into a backpack hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you don't have to have mules to do what we're going to do. Honestly, when we pack up our mule, we're just packing with one equine animal. The other one will be ridden. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to have two animals, and both of them are going to have riding saddles on, but one is going to have a panniard. And the one that we pack on will probably have 150 pounds of gear. So let's just say 75 pounds of gear between the two of us. And all you'd have to do to get that down to that 50 to 60 pound range would be just shed a few things that were kind of extracurricular, which will probably end up being food and drink. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have the liberty to probably bring, some sodas or some Gatorade or something if we wanted to, and didn't want to like mix powder. I mean, we'll have a little bit more liberty, but I'm saying that to say that all this stuff is still the same stuff that I would take if I was carrying stuff on my back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But we will have some liberty to take more stuff if we want to. So one of us will be walking, and I'm gonna say that again. One of us. No, we can switch off. But the one place we're planning to go, it's about 5 miles back in, and we can easily switch off. Like somebody will be leading a mule, somebody will be walking, but you won't necessarily have a big heavy pack on while you're walking.
Yeah.
And we are also carrying camera gear. We're carrying 40 pounds of extra camera gear that most people wouldn't be taking. So, does that make sense?
Yep.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's start right here. At the top of my list is weaponry, and I want to talk about what the kind of gun that I'm going to be taking in Montana. I've had some people interested in that, and what we're going to carry just one gun, even if both of us are hunting. I mean, even if Colby buys a tag, we'll just have this one gun. And what I'm shooting right now is a Best of the West Hunter Elite 300 Win Mag. Okay, this is with a Husqvarna 2x20x50 scope. This to me is a super good bear gun for black bear or brown bear. 300 Win Mag is probably on the smaller side of the scale for what you would want to use for brown bear, but is fully capable and has the ballistics and has everything it needs for brown bear hunting. So it's a gun that would span a pretty wide swath of North American big game. Okay, but if you were going to Kodiak and we're going to be hunting 10-foot brown bears and going to have shots under 100 yards, I mean maybe you would take a different big bore shorter range gun. But 300 Win Mag would do it 100%. All right. Yeah. Now have you ever seen my Best of the West Hunter Elite?
Not in person.
Not in person.
Yeah.
I need to go get it, show it to you.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about this gun. I'm shooting, the gun is 9.25 pounds. It's has a fluted stainless steel barrel with a Cerakote finish. So the barrel is actually black, but it's stainless underneath that. So it has a Cerakote finish. It has a Best of the West 700 style action with a Timney trigger. So these guns are built in Cody, Wyoming. Pretty much every component is built in Cody, Wyoming. I'm not sure if they build their stocks there, but they have them built for Best of the West. They build the actions there. They build the barrels there. They build everything there. Mm-hmm. They now like a Timney trigger. That is a custom long range high end trigger. Like you could go if you were going to trick out one of your guns, you could put a Timney trigger on it. Yeah. And there's several really good triggers. Jewel and Timney are two of them. You can get a Jewel trigger on some of the Husqvarna guns, but this one has the Timney trigger, which basically the Hunter Elite is, let me talk about the Best of the West system, is that you purchase this gun from them, and it is out of the box a absolute sniper rifle. They've sighted the gun in. They've broke the gun in. It's been shot. It's been the scope has been. I mean, it's totally been sighted in, and a custom turret built on the Huskama scope. So I mean, you could literally get it in the mail and pick it up, and this gun is guaranteed accurate out to 700 yards. So the beautiful thing about Huskama scopes is I'm not a gun guy. I'm not a technical gun guy. I've learned my way around a little bit the last several years. But most scopes are, well, first of all, do you know what a custom turret is?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what a custom turret is.
Yeah, it's where they calibrate it so that you can dial in like your yardage and everything. Yeah.
So it's what it is it's like typically inside of scopes, if you would zero in the scope at 200 yards. That means at 200 yards it's hitting dead on. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're shooting at 300 yards, you have to calculate the holdover.
Yeah.
If you're at 400 yards, you calculate the holdover. I mean, by the time you get to 600 yards, you might have a 24-inch holdover.
Yeah.
And so that's where the error comes in. The human error involved in holdover is eliminated by having a custom turret, because you dial the turret to the yardage of the target, and you put the crosshairs directly on it, so there's no holdover. Last year, I borrowed a gun in Manitoba, and it was a gun that did not have a Huskama scope on it, and it was my father-in-law's gun. It was a muzzleloader, and he had a little chart taped onto the side of his gun that had holdover.
Yeah.
At 300 yards, 8-inch holdover, 400 yards, 16-inch holdover. And, man, I mean, if you practiced, you could get fairly proficient.
Yeah.
But you guessing how far, at 600 yards, and this muzzleloader was accurate out to that far, ridiculously high precision muzzleloader.
Yeah.
But, I mean, think about holding over 4 feet at 600 yards. You guessing what 4 feet looks like at a target 600 yards away. I mean, massive probability of human error. So a custom turret takes that away. The reason Huskama is different is that its turret is the only turret that has yardage rather than MOA.
Oh,
so
really?
Minute of angle. Yeah, so like they have it patented. Mm-hmm. Because so on my custom turret, it has yardage. I mean, you range find a bear and he's at 400 yards, you dial it to 400.
Yeah.
Typically, what you would do is you would range it to 400 yards, and then you would have to calculate the MOA and dial to it. And,
Gotcha.
and I've never had a scope like that, so somebody may correct me, but basically scopes are MOA, and you understand how much a minute of angle is, and you calculate it basically.
Yeah, your other rifle that you already had, didn't you put a Huskama on it?
Yeah, well, I've got a big bore gun, a 457 Magnum.
Yeah. And
I put the Huskama 1x6 tactical scope on it.
Yeah.
It's a 6 power, and let's see. Yeah, it's a 6 power little bitty tactical scope.
Yeah. Does that dial in too?
Yep. It's what you do is you gather data. So like my Hunter Elite came fully ready to roll.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you want to take one of the guns that you have and put a Huskama scope on it with a custom turret, all you do is gather ballistics data. So basically you go to the range with a chronograph. You shoot the top of, you have to have already decided what type of bullet you want to shoot. You shoot it through the chronograph, and then you measure the drop at 3 different distances, basically.
Yeah.
So you say, and you tell them this, you say the gun is zeroed at 100 yards, and it dropped 8 inches at 200, and it dropped 18 inches at 300. And basically they do all the physics of bullet drop, and from those 3 things, and barometric pressure and temperature, and I mean they take a bunch of things that just fine-tune this calibration. But those are the 3 main things, is that how fast is that bullet flying and how much drop does it have at 2 different distances. And from that data, they build a custom turret that's built for your gun.
It's pretty cool.
It's It's super cool. So that's the gun that I'm going to be using. That 300 Win Mag, I'm shooting a 212 grain Hornady ELDX bullet. Okay, which it's shooting out of that gun. When we chronoed it, I think it was mainly in the 2,700 feet per second range, but the internet says it should be shooting about 2,800 feet per second. I think it's interesting. I wouldn't have known this except for several guns that now I've gathered data for Huskamaw for my guns. Well, I take that back. No, we didn't gather data for this one.
Yeah.
We gathered data for a different gun. This gun should be shooting 2,800 feet per second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smoking
it's
fast
blazing. Yeah.
for a 212 grain bullet.
Yeah.
Smoking. So, good bear gun. Do you have any questions on that or
No.
comments?
No, it's a heavy bullet.
Hey, and there's no way around it. The Best of the West guns are, I think that Hunter Elite starts at around $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, that's a lot of money. But it's also an incredible weapon that, unless you have a lot of technical skill, a lot of time, and you're going to have a hard time building a gun that good, Okay, weaponry. Two other things that I'm going to categorize in weaponry. Colby, I carry a Glock 10 millimeter as a sidearm. A 10 millimeter has quite a bit of knockdown power for a smaller handgun. I don't want to carry a monster handgun.
Yeah.
So I carry a Glock 10 millimeter.
Isn't that what a lot of police carry?
Well, it's got more knockdown power than a 40 cal and a 9 millimeter, and it's a pretty hefty bullet. Bigger than a 357 or more power.
Yeah.
So that's what I carry. What are you going to carry? You're going to have to carry a sidearm too.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You just learned about this trip like an hour ago. You hadn't figured it out yet?
Well, I might just take a revolver just for simplicity.
What have you got?
It's just a 357.
That's all you need.
If I want to carry a pistol, I've got a 40 that I keep sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but I think revolver. I lost a magazine one time. Whenever I was hog hunting in a pistol, and so I'm a little nervous about losing another.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about losing another magazine for my.
I see.
For my auto.
Either one of those would be good. Where we're going to be hunting is grizzly country, but it's not the big time grizzly country like you hear of in southwest Montana. But the other thing that I'm going to classify under weaponry is bear spray. And both of us will have bear spray and pistol. And that's pretty much my philosophy, is that bear spray and pistol. Both of them. And I took a lot of flack on a YouTube video that I posted where I said I did not chamber around in my Glock as I carried it. A lot of people were just like, that's crazy, that's stupid, it's not even worth carrying. Because typically bear attacks, if they happen so quick, you don't have a lot of time. I probably will chamber around. I've just never been quite comfortable enough, especially riding mules and stuff, having a round chambered.
Yeah.
But I'm probably just going to go for it. Yeah. And this is what I've always done, and maybe somebody has some feedback for me on this. I usually keep the bear spray tucked away.
Yeah.
Not far away, but away. Because my first defense is going to be that pistol.
Yeah.
But if you're in a situation where, let's say we're out there and we're glassing, and all of a sudden we see a grizz out there at 80 yards, and it's just standing there on its hind legs looking at us.
Yeah.
I would have seconds to get in and get the bear spray.
Yeah.
For me, the bear spray is not like an immediate attack, like where you come around a bush and there's a bear 10 feet away that's charging you.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I'm just going to trust the pistol, that I can get it out and shoot, and hopefully the sound of the gun, is going to deter that animal from fully charging you.
Yeah.
But if it does hit you, at least you got some rounds to put in him.
Yeah.
So to me, bear spray is more like the response that you use if you have more
Time.
than 15 or 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because that's all it would take. I mean, I would carry it with me all the time, but it'll be in my pack. Mm-hmm. And if I was down in super duper grizz country, I'm sure that I would wear it on a harness.
Yeah.
But where we're at, the odd grizz might be in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Be cool to see one.
It would be cool to see one.
Yeah.
But it's not the norm. So that's my weaponry: 300 Win Mag, 10 millimeter Glock, and bear spray.
Yeah.
Comments?
I guess if you carried the right pistol, it might not be, as big of a deal to keep one in the chamber. Like a Glock doesn't have built-in safeties like a Springfield. Like a Springfield, you have that one that makes sure you're holding it, that beaver tail, I think is what it's called, on the back, and then you have the trigger and the trigger. Like,
right.
You have a few more things, and I think, what is the Glock? Does it have a trigger? That's
no safety, basically.
No safety, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. But ultimately, you're not going to, the actual trigger would be covered by your...
Yeah, it's deep in a...
sheath.
It's deep in a sheath. It's well buckled. It's pretty safe.
Yeah.
But still, it's just a mental thing of... I grew up bow hunting so much that my dad put the fear of God in us about guns, which is good.
Yeah.
But
I grew up with guns in the corner.
Yeah. Well, and we did too, but it was just we didn't recreate with guns that much other than shooting skeet, and we hunted and stuff, but we weren't shooters.
Yeah.
We just put it that way.
Yeah. I grew up on more of a farm, and so it was just like, if something was coming up, getting after something.
Yeah.
You could take care of it.
Always had a loaded weapon close.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. All right. Let's go into the backcountry camping gear. All right. And I'm just going to go down this list, and perhaps we'll put this list up. I don't know if I want to be so bold as to put our list up, because there's certain things that probably we're going to end up taking that aren't on this list, but these are the main things.
Yeah.
Tent.
Yep.
Tent. I have gotten through everything that I've ever done with a 15-year-old Kel-Tec 2-man tent.
Yeah.
I believe it's called Kel-Tec.
Sounds right.
Back 15 years ago, it was like a pretty high quality, lightweight mountaineering tent.
Yeah.
Nothing special, but a pretty good one. And I've carried it to Montana. I've carried it in Arkansas, and I've used it quite a bit. What kind of tent do you have?
It's some off-brand one, I think, that I got on Amazon.
You're supposed to be the gearhead.
Yeah, well,
he told me an hour ago. He's like, "Yeah, I got a 2-man tent." I figured he'd be able to tell the weight of it. And
no, it's like, well, at some point we need to get one of those.
Does it have any cartoon characters on it, like Snoopy?
No, I bought it for a quick trip last year, and I never used it, so I haven't even gotten it out and put it up.
Okay, well, it's probably got like Snoopy or like Barbie dolls on it or something.
Yeah,
like the little kids' tents.
Yeah,
is it pink?
It's going to be animated. It's supposed to be a army green kind of.
Okay, well,
but we need to get one of those Nemo ones that First Lite.
Yeah,
up with them.
Yes,
just kind of ran out of time.
Yeah, First Lite doesn't have them. I contacted Bridget at First Lite the other day, and they don't have them in the office yet.
Yeah,
but yeah, so Nemo and First Lite have started doing some branded content, branded merchandise for back. They've got some sleeping bags and tents and a bunch of stuff. We will certainly have some of those in the future.
Yeah.
The other thing that we talked about that we should have for this hunt, and we may figure out a way to get one, is a Kifaru teepee.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've done pretty good with my little tent, but I would like to upgrade.
Yeah.
And that would be one that would be good. The Kifaru or the First Lite Nemo stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they all pack down pretty small.
I think the main thing that we need to do on this trip before we go is pull this tent out and reseal it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that if we get in a massive thunderstorm up there, it stays dry.
Yeah.
I will also take with me a 8x10 to 10x10 tarp.
Yeah.
That I will put over the top of that if it rains. When we were backcountry hunting in Arkansas over Christmas break, we were in a horrendous thunderstorm one night. but we had a tarp stretched over the tent. So we had the tent underneath a tarp that was tied with paracord. And the tent kept water out, but still we need to make sure that that thing doesn't leak. But so I will take an 8x10 tarp with us, which is not on my list here. But so there's obviously a lot more we could talk about when it comes to wilderness shelters. That's the main thing. So for two of us, we're probably just going to take one tent, and we're going to take Colby's Snoopy tent, maybe for gear. Yeah. We're going to have it because it's pretty small. Okay. So let's talk about bedding. Yeah. I've traveled in spring and fall the last several years, and I have found the sweet spot when you're hunting in temperatures between 65 and 20 degrees Fahrenheit to be a 30-degree bag. Okay. Yeah. It's the bag isn't too huge, but it's also not too small. And I've found that every time I hunt, I usually sleep in the clothes that I'm wearing. And if it's my First Lite gear, like I'm wearing like my base layers and then probably a puffy jacket and a toboggan or beanie. Yeah. And stay pretty warm. I find that a 30-degree bag doesn't actually keep me warm at 30 degrees. Yeah. I don't know have you ever experienced if you camp much? Yeah, I think that they design them to where you can still survive at 30 degrees. Not that you'll be comfortable at 30 degrees. Yeah. Well, in that case, I've heard that before, actually, now that you say it. And that's been my experience, is that, like, if you were just 30 degrees, just sleeping without many clothes on, you'd be uncomfortable. Yeah. But the temperatures when we're going to be in Montana are going to be from 65 to 30 degrees. Potentially up with a little bit of elevation, it'll be colder. So we're going to have 30-degree sleeping bags. I've got some Cabela's. I believe they're called Invader. It's a Cabela's branded sleeping bag, and it's pretty good bag. I like it. I like to take a blow-up Thermarest. I've got one straight-up Thermarest, but I also have a Cabela's branded, air mattress type deal that rolls up really small. Yeah. And it's pretty thick. It takes quite a bit of effort and energy to blow it up, but it's pretty good on a backcountry hunt. Yeah. I also almost always take a full-size pillow. And now that is a luxury. I think it's worth it. Yeah. Well, that's a luxury that if you're riding a mule, you can take. Yeah. If you were backpacking in, you probably wouldn't do it. Yeah. You'd be taking a little camping pillow. Too much space. I've also just slept on my clothes before as a pillow. I've used my puffy First Lite jacket, like it folds up into its own pocket. I've used that before. Yep, for sure. I've done the same thing. All those fold up into little football shapes. Yeah. But if you're going to be back there for 4 or 5 days and you've got the room on a mule, I will probably bring one full size pillow. Now the cameraman won't be able to, Colby. Yeah. Yeah. You're on your own. You'll test out all these other ways to have a pillow. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm going to use the cameras as my pillow just to make sure that they're protected. Hey, you know what? James Lawrence, my old buddy James Lawrence. Yeah. Man, when they camped back in the 1970s, I mean, literally they were just camping in these little army tents, and he used his saddle as his pillow. Interesting. He's the one that I kind of mirrored my backcountry hunting off of. Yeah. And he was just looking for something elevated to lay his head on so his head didn't lay back flat on the ground. Yeah. So he slept on that leather saddle as his pillow. Makes sense. Yeah. So you'll be fine toughing it out. Right. We've got 2 saddles. He used his you will have 2 saddles to sleep on. Yeah. So I take a real pillow, sleeping bag, mattress, pillow. That's it for sleeping. Yeah. That's all we'll have. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about food. I use a Jetboil. What's the other brand that's so good that's probably better? Oh man, it just escaped. You said it a minute ago. Yeah, Jetboil's the one that will pop into your head. I can find out. Why don't you find out what it is? Yeah, we should know this, but a Jetboil-like contraption that burns the isopropyl fuel is what you got to have. And I've heard people say that jet boil is not supportive of modern conservation, brilliant hunters like us.
MSR.
MSR. Yeah, MSR is probably a better buy for people. I currently do have to admit that I have a jet boil. And so we will be this will be a freeze-dried food-based backcountry hunt.
Yeah.
We'll take a jet boil. We'll take multiple extra canisters of the isopropyl fuel. Those things burn forever, though. You get the big one. I mean, they burn forever, but you don't want to run out.
Yeah.
We'll use that jet boil or that burner to make coffee. Usually just bring some instant coffee, either the crystals or the packs, the little like tea pouch type coffee deals.
I'm new to the coffee world.
Okay, yeah, Colby, yep, he's new. He doesn't really drink coffee that much. You will in the backcountry. You'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now this is a mule man's luxury right here. I bring real half and half with me wherever I go. If I'm in Alaska, if I'm in Montana, if I'm in backcountry of Arkansas, I will have about 25 of those little creamers. Okay.
Yeah.
Call me a sissy. It's okay. I'm okay with it. I got to have my good half and half with my coffee. Okay.
Okay.
So the main experience that I have with freeze-dried food has been with Mountain House.
Yeah.
And there's whole podcasts that talk about the different options for food. But Mountain House is probably the most popular, most readily available, most commercialized of the freeze-dried foods. And I've had great experiences with them. They've got a lot of sodium in them. Any of the freeze-dried food does for the most part. That's the one thing I've heard is that they do have a lot of sodium. So if you're eating them for 6-7 days in a row, you have a tendency to kind of feel bloated. They're a lot of calories. I think they taste great. I do not get tired of them.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I could eat them. I could eat one for lunch right now and just feel like I'd gone out to dinner.
Yeah.
I like them. What I have done on hunts where I've been with multiple people is I've calculated 2 per day.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't want to eat more than 2 per day.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like a small amount of food, it's a lot of food.
Mm-hmm.
And but what happens is if for some reason you're really hungry and you eat 3 in a day, I don't know that I've ever eaten 3 in a day. But you could because you average it out. Like, so if 2 of us are going and we're planning to be back in there for 5 days, I mean, you'd take 2 per day per person. So you take 20. Is that right?
Sounds right.
And they're pretty expensive. They cost like cheapest you can get them is about $7-8 each, even when you buy them in bulk. And that's what I do. I buy them in bulk in these like 20-pack buckets.
Yeah.
And there's a wide variety of options, but it's all good. Then I do bring an assortment of other just non-perishable goods, pretty much whatever I can fit in there that I think might be good. Yeah. I mean, like I might go to the grocery store and buy some raisins and some peanuts and some Cliff Bars.
Yeah.
Just things that you can kind of stash around that you can snack on throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then I also have on my list here, I usually bring some type of candy. I mean, just straight up sugary candy.
Oh, really?
For those moments, Colby, when you just need a boost of something.
It pairs well with bear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, for like drawing in a bear?
Oh, I don't know. No, I was talking about more after we get one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so we would use this celebratory. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about baiting the bears.
No. I don't know if Montana would look.
Yep. Nope. Can't do that. No. Can't do that, Colby. Colby be out there baiting them with like sweet tarts on the ground, like making little trails back to our camp.
Yeah. ET them into camp.
No, let's see. Coffee creamer, small amount of candy, Cliff Bars, plan for 2 Mountain Houses per day. I mean, that's pretty much it. One of the limiting factors, though, if you're doing a longer hunt in the backcountry, is food.
Yeah,
that's what we found when we were carrying stuff in was just food. Yeah. Now, when I went with Jim Sessions, Jim is a veteran backcountry hunter that would bust the trends of all these younger guys that are hunting. Jim's been hunting. I don't know how old Jim is, in his 50s, like maybe even late 50s. and he's been hunting Wyoming by himself on mules and horses his whole life, basically.
Yeah.
And he brings a lot of fresh food.
Oh, that's cool.
He really does. His wife cooks a bunch of stuff, and we were eating. I'm trying to even remember how this was possible. It was pretty cool when we were hunting, and his wife made a bunch of breakfast burritos that they just wrapped up in foil.
Yeah.
And we ate for probably 3 days.
My cousin did that when we went to Colorado.
Yeah. Now, were y'all backcountry hunting?
We were.
So you had
we were off of
refrigeration?
the road. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we ice chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we did. We carried all this stuff in ice chest, and then once we went back in, it was pretty cool. So the stuff stayed cool, but you'd be surprised how long cooked food will stay good if it's staying pretty cool. And so we did that. He carried some sausage and eggs, and he likes to carry a full cooking kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were cooking fresh food for the most part.
That's a luxury.
Yeah, and he was kind of in charge of the logistics of our hunt at that time. So I wouldn't be opposed to bringing a couple of days worth. We'll probably bring a skillet and some bacon and some eggs or something just to kind of for fun for a day or two. But that's probably what we'll do. So can you? I guess. That's pretty. We're just kind of hitting the high points.
Yeah.
This is a generic list here. That's my main thing for food.
Yeah.
And the other part of that would be water. Pretty much on a mule-based hunt, we could bring some water, and we may bring a few bottles of water, but water will not be the limiting factor because we'll be able to get to the creek. And what I have used before is this. I've got it written down here. Yeah, it's the Katadyn Basecamp Pro 10-liter water filter. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
It's Katadyn Basecamp Pro, and so it's this hanging bag that holds 10 liters. So you go down the creek, try to get some fast running water that's in full of mud, but even if it was, this thing would filter it.
Yeah.
And you set it up and it drips. So you unhinch this little cord and you put your container down there. We'll bring some like Nalgene bottles, something like that. And, it'll take it 3 or 4 minutes to fill up your water container.
Yeah, it's a gravity filter, right?
Yep, gravity filter. So we'll bring one of those, but we'll also bring a life straw.
Yeah, I've got one of those too.
Yeah, those are handy. Just to have in your pack, stick it in a mud hole and drink if you had to.
Yeah.
Where we're going to be hunting is going to be up above where there's much water. There might be some snow banks around that we'd be able to gather a little bit of water to boil down if we wanted to for mountain houses and stuff, but we will have to carry some water up. Now, we could easily go down 2,000 feet and get water and come back up on a mule, which wouldn't be that big of a deal. If you're on foot, it would be.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Where we're going to be camping it all depends on where the snow line's at. I don't know. Ideally would be camping at 6,000 feet. Now we have not got into the nitty gritty of is 6,000 feet even there right now. Might be under 4 feet of snow. In that case, we'd be camping lower than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what we'll take. Here's a couple of just different things. We'll be, you take your personal toiletries and whatever you take a toothbrush and toothpaste, for sure. Wet wipes.
Yeah.
I'm a big wet wipe man.
Yeah.
Yep. Wet wipes.
Enough said.
They're good for all kind of stuff.
Yeah. All kinds of cleanups.
Even just cleaning your hands.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you've been messing with the mules or, you just, or just kind of taking a small, just like wipe down bath with one of them, you just feel refreshed. So I like taking wet wipes. Permethrin. When we were in Montana, the first year, it was ridiculous how many ticks there were, and we were totally unprepared.
Yeah.
100% unprepared. I didn't even have any off. We will spray down our clothes with this, how do you say it? Yeah, permethrin. And that'll keep the ticks at bay pretty good.
Yeah.
That's something I for sure would bring. Garmin InReach for navigation. Both of us have Garmin InReaches. For if you don't know what a Garmin inReach, I mean, most guys in the hunting world probably would, but it's a GPS and a satellite text messaging device. It costs about $400. You pay about $11 a month, the lowest possible plan, and basically you get 10 free text messages per month, and you've got an SOS button. So if we get back in there and something happens, we could hit SOS, and it alerts the local authorities that somebody's in trouble and they need to send help, basically.
Yeah, they pick you up.
Yeah, so you don't want to hit that button on accident.
No.
I hear they actually message you. They try to message you to, like, say what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, so potentially if you hit it on accident, you could go, my bad. But no guarantees on that.
Yeah.
But it does make you feel just a little bit better to know that if something crazy happened, that you could hit that button. And, you know, you couldn't count on somebody getting there fast, but
yeah, it'd be difficult to hit that SOS
on accident.
They've got it pretty protected.
Yeah, they do. They do. And actually, when you hit it, it cues you again. It says, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
Oh, really?
I mean, it says something like that.
Yeah.
And so then you hit yes, and it's and you're good. She okay?
Yeah.
We got Fern the plot hound in here. She's getting a little restless. So that'll be how we navigate. We'll also have our OnX on our phones, and we'll download these sections so you'll be able to kind of look at some. Because the Garmin, these inReach Garmins, if you're using the stuff the maps that come with them, they're not great maps.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not, I don't want to dog them. But they're not like highly detailed maps, and it's certainly not satellite imagery.
Yeah, or as user friendly.
Yeah,
as OnX.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a last resort type deal. Okay. Here's a little tech tip for you. A little
All right.
backcountry camping tip.
Yeah,
I have a pair of Croc-like shoes.
I do as well.
Okay. I carry those with me everywhere I go.
Yeah, let your feet dry out at night.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so nice to be, even in the backcountry, and they're super light.
Yeah. Do you wear multiple pairs of socks?
No.
Yeah. I saw where guys will have will wear 2 pairs of socks. There'll be like a liner layer of some merino sock, and then they'll put their First Lite socks on top of that, and then it wicks the moisture away from your foot. It's supposed to help. It's supposed to be
Sissies,
like some
Colby.
hack. Yeah.
That's what sissies do, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's probably a good idea. I just wear a variety. I think I have every possible pair of First Lite socks. They've got, these crew socks that come up to about halfway on your calf, which are lightweight, athletic, merino wool and spandex.
Yeah.
And they've got these ones that come up, to me, they come up actually almost over my kneecap.
Yeah.
Super tall.
Yeah.
But then I've got some of the thicker, warmer weather socks.
Yeah.
But man, merino wool socks to me are non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You can wear the same pair of socks an entire 7-day hunt.
I might do it.
I've done it. You got to let them dry out at night. I mean, it's nice to take them off. And I mean, if you get them soaking wet,
yeah.
I mean, you got to take them off and let them dry, but they dry quick, and you can pick them up the next day, and they don't smell terrible, and you can wear them again.
They say you can put stuff that's damp in the sleeping bag with you, and your body heat dries it in the night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. I've never done that. So here we go. Knife.
Yep.
I like to carry a Barracuda
Havilon.
Yeah. I love them, the
Yeah.
big ones. And I carry 4 or 5 extra blades in case we had to skin a bear or two. But you can skin a bear on one
blade
easily.
Yeah.
One Havilon blade. But I'll also take a standard knife. And my father-in-law has a Steve Schultz Custom Knives. I'll carry a pack rat. He's got a little skeleton knife with no handle on it. It's just the handle has been wrapped in paracord. You got one, don't you?
Yeah, I've got one of those too.
Yeah, super awesome knife. Has a what's the sheath made out of on those things? Kydex. So it's lightweight.
Yeah.
It clips on your belt. It has a little clip on it.
You can orientate it different ways, which helps too. Like I have mine on my backpack on the sleeve of it, where I can just pull it out real quick if I need it for whatever.
Yeah, guys, y'all could do us a favor by going and checking out Steve Schultz Custom Knives.
Yeah.
And I think it's about $120 for that pack rat, but it's really high grade steel. It's a totally custom handmade knife.
Yeah.
And you can have all kind of different colors on the paracord that's wrapped around the handle.
Yeah.
But it's a great backcountry knife, light, and it's just fail proof. I mean, it's just a super strong, good knife.
Yeah. I think my favorite knife, as far as like one that's produced a lot, where you could just go buy it like a Cabela's or something, would probably be like the Benchmade, like the Steep Country.
Okay.
Yeah. It held such a great edge. Like,
yeah.
I've done a lot
I've
with
used custom knives for so long, I'm totally out of the knife world, except for the Havalon knives, which I love. Absolutely love.
Yeah.
But, all right. So these are kind of our camping, this is our camping list. We talked about tents. We talked about thermarest, pillows, heating devices for jet boils and whatnot. We talked about food. We talked about Crocs. We talked about permethrin. We talked about sleeping bags, toiletries, knives. So that's kind of our backcountry camping gear list. What I want to talk about now is optics. This is a pretty big deal for any backcountry hunter, and it's something that I, being an Arkansas hunter, kind of had to get used to, because in Arkansas you can't see more than about 40 yards in any direction, and so having really good optics has never been really a limiting factor. But what kind of optic? Tell us about your Leicas, because that's mainly what we're going to be using.
Yeah, they're the Leica. I think they're called the Geovids. I think in a 10 by 50, but they have a built-in rangefinder. Just really good glass. They're the clearest pair of binoculars I've looked through.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say they're the best, but they're up there with like the Swarovskis and you know, those other high-end ones. So
in the range on that one, it'll range out to 1,000 yards. Is that right?
I think it might even be a little further than that.
Really?
Yeah.
See,
further than we'll shoot.
This is what maybe further than you'll shoot, buddy. You've never had a Hunter Elite Best of the West. Nah,
right.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, so that is an issue when you have a long-range rifle, or even not even anymore. A long-range shot is, or shots that people are taking are longer than previous decades. Let's just say that. And like I've got a cheap, I think it's a Sig Sauer, just like 400-yard rangefinder. I mean, it's just kind of like an archery rangefinder, really.
Yeah.
And you get out to Montana, and all of a sudden you realize that thing is pretty much worthless.
Yeah.
Because you can't range across these canyons at 500, 600, 800 yards. And not that you're going to take an 800-yard shot, but it sure helps to know the distance, you know. And when you do have a gun that's capable of shooting that far, and you have practiced with it and really feel capable, which, man, I've spent 7 days hunting with Jim 2 years ago. I mean, super good long-range shooter. We talked, and I looked at how he did his setups when he would shoot. They do a lot of dry firing. Like if, let's say you're shooting at a bear at 600 yards, you're going to have some time. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's going to be running and you're going to be shooting him at that far. If you're shooting at long distance, you do have time. Yeah. So he sets the gun up, and he carries this little tripod with him in sandbags. He actually carries that in the backcountry. Yeah. And you get set up, and you unchamber the round and dry fire it. Just put it right on just like you want to. Breathe and squeeze. Yeah. And see what happens to the crosshairs when you dry fire it.
Are you shooting prone or?
Yep, prone. 100%. Yeah, prone.
Okay.
I mean, like, that's all he wanted to shoot was prone.
Yeah.
And so you would dry fire, and you would gain confidence based upon what you saw when you dry fired. Or potentially you'd realize you need to wait. You know, because if that crosshair drops off of that animal or moves that much or comes out of the kill zone, then you got no business shooting.
Yeah.
And then, you know, finally you chamber your live round. You're having somebody with a spotting scope, and you shoot. Yeah. And so it's much more calculated than what somebody might think who'd never been in that situation, and just like, oh man, you're just slinging lead at 600 yards at an animal. That's unethical. I mean, we could have a long, long debate about whether it's ethical to shoot at something at 700 yards when you've practiced have the equipment and have done everything versus taking a 35-yard shot at a deer with your bow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the ethics of it depend upon the person that's behind the trigger or behind the bow.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, because there's lots of people I know, including me at different times, that have no business shooting at an animal at 35 yards with a bow.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier to pick on a guy that's long-range shooting because it seems so far, you know? And maybe you don't have a gun that can shoot that far. Maybe you're not capable of shooting that far. But I can tell you, and I'm not claiming to be a great shot, but I have shot my gun out to 1,100 yards.
Yeah.
And hit a 18 by 18 steel plate at 1,100 yards. Yeah. Granted, it took me a while. We didn't have the right distance. I mean, there was many variables.
Yeah.
But I'm confident that I could go back and easily even shoot that far with this current gun that I've got.
Yeah.
And then when I was in BC last year, we were shooting 2-liter Coke bottles at 800 yards.
Yeah.
And you know, I was consistently hitting a spot as big as a beach ball at 800 yards every shot. Yeah. And I can't tell you that I hit the 2-liter bottle the first shot. The gun was doing that. But and I was also had a rest on a stump.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like a real hunting situation. We were just like, we did know the exact range, and we set up, and I got a good rest on a stump and would have hit a beach ball size spot every single shot for like 5 or 6 shots at 800 yards.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty good shooting.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I'm probably not going to take an 800-yard shot, but you know, a black bear's vitals are in the range of that size.
Yeah. A
good size black bear would be, you could describe it as, about the size of a beach ball.
Yeah.
You know? So ethics all depends upon what you're capable of, you know?
Yeah.
But, okay, so that, I also want to say that I've carried the Huskama 10x42s for several years.
Yeah.
Super small and lightweight. That's what I like about them. Clear glass.
Yeah. Do they sell that anymore?
Is it on their website?
I haven't been able to find it.
For real?
Yeah. I don't know that those are still in production.
Okay.
Because they sell Leica on their long-range store.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. They may have quit selling those. But that's what I have carried for several years, and I do like them because they're so light. And they are clear. Are they up there?
Yeah, I guess they got another run of them. They're expected August of 2019.
Oh, okay. So they sold them out, and now they're getting more in August. Yeah. I see. Okay. All right. The last section here that we want to talk about is clothing. This is probably the hardest one because there's so many variables, and guys that have not hunted much out on a hunt like this often take way too much stuff, which that's what I learned about myself. I took way too much gear. I'm going to tell you what I pack and what I'm familiar with, and that's First Lite gear. I've been wearing First Lite gear since 2013, and I've pretty much exclusively worn First Lite gear. So I cannot speak really objectively from experience with any of the other high-end clothing companies, Sitka, Kuiu. I've just not worn them.
Yeah.
But I have worn First Lite for all these years and know the product line fairly well. I don't know the new 2019 gear as well. I do have one of their I think it's called a Brooks. They call it a sweater, but I do have one of their new jackets that nobody's got yet.
Yeah.
But so I'm just going to go through First Lite gear. But this could be translated to other things, but I've had great success with First Lite. I like them as a company. And that's all I wear. All right, I'm going to start off with tops. Okay, this is what I will bring when we hunt. I will have 2 pairs of merino wool underwear. That once you get on the First Lite site, so that I'm not so the names I'm saying are accurate. I believe they call them their what do they call it? I want to say red dirt underwear, but I don't think that's what it's called. But I'll have 2 pairs of the merino wool underwear. When I first heard about this, I thought, man, that's kind of over the top to have merino wool underwear. But merino wool truly is a magical fabric to have on skin. So if you're wearing cotton underwear or some type of spandex synthetic underwear, that will be the limiting factor that of chafing and holding moisture and not drying out. And so it makes a ton of sense, actually, to have some merino wool boxers. Okay? I think they changed the name of them, Colby.
Yeah, they've got several different names.
Go ahead. What are they?
One was Dobson.
Okay.
I think the other one was Glenbrook.
Okay. Well, 2 pairs of those I'll take, and then I'll take a 1 base layer pant or base layer of merino wool, which what I have is the Allegheny, but I didn't see that they've got a new one called the Fuse Long John, which if you've not heard me talk about merino wool before, I was not a believer there for a while, or just was inexperienced and was like, merino wool, probably not anything special. But when I hunt, I 100% use merino wool on skin for any type of hunting, from super cold hunting like in Canada that I do, all the way to hunting here in Arkansas when it's 80 degrees. A lot of people wouldn't understand merino wool when it's hot, but it's actually exactly what you want to be wearing when it's hot, because it wicks moisture away from skin. It dries out very quickly. The example I always give is if you've got a cotton T-shirt that you've been outside working in and it gets damp and sweaty, and you wad it up and throw it down on the floor, the next day that thing will still be damp, and when you pick it up, it just has that smell. Well, merino wool dries out much quicker than cotton. And when it dries out, it does not hold near as much odor. At different times I've said it's almost 100% odor free. But if you wear it for like 7 days straight, it will have odor.
Yeah.
But not near as much as cotton. I mean, like almost exponentially less than cotton.
Yeah.
And
doesn't it fight the bacteria? So like if you go, say, into some fast food restaurant with it, it'll smell like that. But as far as like the sweat and stuff from you, like it attacks that. It's like antimicrobial or something like that, where it.
I'm not sure the science behind the merino wool. I do know that in terms of temperature regulation, and I think maybe we talked about this on another one. Merino sheep are grown in places where it gets very, very hot and also very, very cold. So these sheep are living in places that have these huge temperature swings. And so it might be cold one day and hot the next. And so their wool is capable of insulating when it's cold, but also regulating, letting heat out when it's hot. I mean, that's the way I understood it. And so that's what you want to happen inside of your hunting gear. But the main thing is that when wool gets wet, it still insulates. That's the tried and true. It's not just merino wool that does that. Wool, if you get wet when you're wearing cotton, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You are going to get cold, chilled to the bone, and obviously depending upon how cold it's going to get, whether that's life-threatening or whether it's just uncomfortable for the day. Okay.
Yeah.
Merino wool is much different than that. But the key thing about merino wool is it's soft. Most guys think of like the old wool stuff that people used to wear would be like scratchy and kind of stickery, Merino wool is soft wool. And so it feels like cotton. So it's comfortable like cotton.
Yeah.
First Lite also has some synthetic blends. So they've got this merino wool stuff that's blended with synthetic stuff. Yeah. So it kind of has an athletic feel, but that's good stuff too. Mm-hmm. The Arrow wool, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah.
But, okay, so I'll merino wool boxers, Fuse Long John. The shirts, my go-to First Lite shirts right now are the Furnace Henley and the men's Furnace quarter zip.
I love the Henley.
Which one do you have?
The Furnace.
What pattern you got?
Fusion.
Fusion.
Yeah.
Okay.
All my stuff's Fusion.
Yeah.
I just like that pattern.
Yeah. Me too. I've got some Cypher. But so there's lots of different options in shirts, and you really can't go wrong, but those are the two that I'm wearing a lot right now. Okay. And Colby, I will take 2 shirts.
Yeah.
Let's just say we're going into the backcountry planning for 5 days, even though we're planning to be gone. We're planning to hunt for 7. Mm-hmm. But when we go in the backcountry, I will take 2 shirts. Okay. All right. You with me?
Yep.
The other shirt, base layer on skin merino wool shirts.
Yeah.
And I'll alternate days.
Yeah.
Usually. Probably that's my theory, alternate days. I probably won't do that. Listen to this story. When I was with Jim Sessions in Montana, I wore the same clothes for 6 days straight and never took them off.
Yeah.
For real. Wore my Allegheny base layer pants, and I can't remember what kind of merino wool base layer shirt it was. It was their I forgot what. I mean, it was just their mid-weight, just standard First Lite shirt. It escaped me what it was called, but wore them every single day.
Yeah,
never took them off. And I was wearing at the time the North Branch soft shell pant with the merino wool underneath them.
Yeah,
that soft shell pant. They don't make them anymore.
Yeah,
I've talked with First Lite. They wouldn't hear my plea to continue on with the North Branch soft shell.
Yeah,
I loved it. And then on top, I would come in and out of a un compagre puffy jacket
with a hood.
With a hood.
Yeah,
and I slept in it for 6 days.
Yeah.
But going back to shirts, so those are the 2 merino. I'll have 2 merino wool base layer shirts. But then what I will take with me this year is a Klamath hoodie.
Yeah.
The Klamath has a more athletic fit than the former. My other favorite First Lite gear was the quarter zip sweater that they had that wasn't merino wool. But the Klamath hoodie isn't merino wool. It's just like a hoodie. And it has but I like the athletic fit and I like the hood. I end up pulling that hood over. Those are the 3 shirts that I'll bring.
Yeah.
So 2 merino wool and the Klamath hoodie. Jackets. Moving right on to jackets. I have traveled all over North America chasing bears with an un compagre puffy jacket. I love them.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, when I pull it out, I feel like warm, fuzzy feelings.
Yeah.
All down on the inside because it is such a awesome jacket.
Yeah.
It's lightweight. It's not made for beating the brush. I've tore some holes in them. You can't get around that. I mean, it's not like a Carhartt jacket, that's designed to just like beat the brush. But they're a lot more durable than you think.
Yeah.
And I find that when I layer like with a let's say I've got that quarter zip merino wool on, Klamath hoodie, un compagre vest, man, you can stay warm.
Yeah.
Or un compagre jacket. The other jacket, quote unquote, that I'll bring will be a un compagre vest.
Yeah.
I love a un compagre vest with an un compagre puffy jacket.
Yeah.
Okay, super lightweight, but then you get that layering of 2 pretty significant layers.
Yeah.
And I find that you can stay pretty warm in temperatures down into the 30s with that.
Yeah.
With basically 2 puffy vest, puffy jacket. I call it the puffy. I think most of them do too. I do have their new Catalyst system, and I will probably bring both the top and bottom of their Catalyst system, which is just their soft shell. So it's a soft shell. Soft shell, like the puffy wouldn't be soft shell. The puffy is that lightweight, kind of scratchy material that like a bow hunter in a tree stand wouldn't want to wear.
Yeah, it's a little loud.
Yeah, but the soft shell is a soft to touch, non-merino wool outer layer that's just a thin jacket. And the pants are the same. They're a little bit insulated. They're like 2 layered. Like there's a layer inside and a layer outside, but that's their Catalyst system. The jacket's the same. I will also bring a sawtooth hybrid jacket that I will layer with based upon weather. So on this hunt, with temperatures from 66 to, let's say, 35 degrees, that's what the forecast says right now, my maximum layering capacity would be 2 merino wool shirts, a Klamath hoodie, an un compagre vest, un compagre, under that would be a sawtooth hybrid vest, and then a puffy, full puffy. So that would be that's the way I like to think about it. I like to think about, could you put everything that you have on and stay warm in the most difficult circumstances possible?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then you don't have enough.
Yeah.
Because you're preparing for the worst. But you're also not wanting to bring way overkill. So you kind of want to be like teeter right on that edge. And let's say it got down to 25 degrees and was windy. I think I would stay at least warm enough with what I've got for in this situation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think that's a good rule of thumb. Think about putting every single thing you've got on, and would that keep you warm? And if it would keep you way too warm, then probably you're bringing too much stuff. Like if it would be way overkill, like if I had, 6 mid-level shirts, and you'd be like, okay, I put 6 shirts on, this. You're like, man, that's way overkill. You're probably bringing too much stuff. Okay, let's talk about pants.
Yeah.
Pants. I'll bring 2 kinds of pants. Well, potentially, I've got to make a decision. I'll bring the Catalyst soft shell pant. Mm-hmm. They're kind of a thicker pant.
Yeah.
And I'll wear the Allegheny bottoms underneath them. I bet 80% of this hunt.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make a decision on whether I bring the Korg Guide pants or the Obsidian Merino pants. So the First Lite Korg Guide pants are like an athletic fit, like stretchy, kind of feel like almost like spandex-like material, really comfortable, breathable, lightweight, but they're more for hot weather stuff. The other one is the merino wool pant, the Obsidian, and I really like those. They would be a little bit better for weather stuff. They'd be a little bit better for colder weather because potentially you would, if you got wet, that merino wool would keep you warm. Okay. All right. Rain gear, Seek. I've got all the Seek gear. The south. It's an acronym for Southeast Alaska, but the First Lite Seek gear. I've yet to get wet in it, and I've used it in Saskatchewan and pounding rain and boats, and I've used it a lot. I didn't have as good a luck with the Storm Tight stuff from First Lite, but they've massively improved it since 5 years ago when they came up with the Storm Tight stuff. The Seek stuff is the real deal. Yeah. I've got Seek pants and top.
Yeah.
You've got a Seek jacket with Storm Top bottoms.
Yeah.
If you're not sitting in something, those Storm Top bottoms will keep you dry. If you're sitting in a boat seat for 4 hours, you're just sitting in water. I've seen them leak.
Yeah. They leaked on me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I ripped them on something too.
Yeah. Well, that's their kind of like lower. It's really lightweight. I mean, it's not really made for just like sitting in pounding rain.
Yeah, it did great for a while. I think I was hunting in the rain, and eventually, like after a couple of hours, it was.
Yeah. The Seek wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Headgear. I think the best piece of gear that First Lite makes, and this is going to surprise you. This is Clay Newcomb, most valuable player.
Yeah. First
Lite gear goes to, drum roll, goes to the brimmed merino beanie.
Yeah.
No. Shoot. I was reading I never have a list. I've got a list today. Not that. It's the tag cuff beanie.
Yeah.
Man.
I like mine.
That thing, when I was in Idaho hunting in it was like -2 degrees, and we were riding snowmobiles 25 miles.
Yeah.
2 of those, 2 tag cuff beanies.
Yeah.
And then pulling up stuff, a hoodie over your head.
Yeah.
With whatever you're wearing underneath. Super warm. Man, that thing gets wet, you stay warm.
Yeah.
I've carried them all over, and I usually carry 2 with me.
Yeah.
I get pretty cold pretty easy. And man, if you can keep your head warm, so good. The other thing that I like to wear is that brimmed merino beanie.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the short brim. I like the way it feels. I like the lightweightness of it. I like it when people think it looks funny. You need one of those. You got one. You wear them. Do they think you look funny?
I don't know.
I think you look funny in them. Comments.
I'm speechless.
Okay. All right. Last thing on the list, and then we're going to close down, Colby. Gloves.
Yeah.
I am not a glove man. I mean, if it's like freezing cold outside, 4 out of 5 people have gloves on, and I won't have gloves on.
Yeah.
I just like to be able to touch stuff. I like it. Usually I got camera gear, or I'm bow hunting, or even when I'm riding a mule, I like to be able to feel the reins.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it's just a personal deal, but I will carry the First Lite Aero Wool liner glove. Super thin. And it just takes the edge off the cold, but still you get that touch. You know, they're not durable. They're not made for working. I mean, you'll pop a hole in them pretty quick, but just for cool mornings when you just want to take the sting and the edge off the cold on your hands, I really like them. They only cost like $17.
Yeah.
So it's a cheap little glove, and it's merino wool, so if it gets wet, it'll dry out quick.
Yeah.
I like them.
Sometimes I have a hard time finding them in my bag.
Yep, they're so small. Yep.
In the midst of all the rest of the fusion.
Yes. The other thing that I carry, and I don't know if I'll carry it on this trip or not, but I'll have them in the bag, at least in the truck, and we'll make a decision based upon weather and stuff, is the soft shell shooting glove. It's their kind of like, it almost feels like it's neoprene. It's not.
Yeah.
But it goes way up on your wrist and Velcros pretty high up on your wrist, probably 2 inches above your hand.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're pretty solid gloves that you could use for, I mean, you could shoot in them. Well, they're a shooting glove.
Yeah.
But you could, they're tougher. You know, you could move around logs at camp. And I mean, you know, they're kind of made for doing stuff like that, or at least that's been my experience.
Are those the ones that have the cutout for your like archery release?
Yeah,
too?
yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah, I've got a pair of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will carry those. I also had their Scree gloves.
Yeah.
I believe they got one called Scree. They're used to. It's just kind of a standard, just like smaller glove, but a notch up in terms of protection from their little arrow liner. Or their Aero Wool, excuse me.
They came out with quite a few gloves this year.
They've got a bunch of new ones.
I haven't really looked at them yet.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of new ones. Well, hey, we've gone long enough here. This is our list. I guess it's been fairly exhaustive, but I would feel confident today using this list and going.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be something like, you know, I didn't put like a lighter on here. Like, you should take I carry a lighter with me every time I get out of the truck in the backcountry.
Yeah.
I like starting fires.
Or like a good pair of boots.
Well, we didn't talk about boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some things that are just like givens that we didn't talk about. Let's talk about boots, though. I've been using the Cabela's Denali for several years. My boots are so wore out. They're on their last leg. They don't deserve to go back to Montana. But
are those the kangaroo ones? Like
No. That's what I wore when I was in Montana last time, and they don't repel. They're not Gore-Tex on the inside, so
gotcha.
But tell us what kind of boots you have. You have some good ones.
Yeah, I got some Kinetrex.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know they're uninsulated, so like the only insulation would be like the sock.
Right.
And they come up, you know, a little above my ankle. But yeah, they're really like when you put them on at first, they feel really tight, but then all of a sudden they feel great.
Yeah.
So this will be my first backcountry hunt wearing them though.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been great so far.
Well, you see, yeah, I didn't put boots on. I mean, is there anything else that probably would be on the, I mean, lighter boots?
I mean, not other than just like the normal things.
Everybody's going to have their own little pleasantries they might bring, like half and half.
Yeah, and I don't think we really got into like different types of packs or anything like frame packs.
No,
but we're going with mules.
You know, that's a good one that I didn't. And again, me not being a gearhead, guys could flip out over packs.
Yeah.
Hey,
they do.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. And if there's a fine company out there that would like to sponsor this trip, I have for 3 years used a $30 Walmart pack.
Yeah.
Field Line, baby.
Yeah.
Field Line, actually, I'm sponsored by Field Line. They pay me $50,000 a year.
Right.
That pack is awesome. I mean, it's not going to last forever, and it's starting to tear in a place or two. But no, we need some good packs, and we're looking at some Exo Mountain Gear stuff. We're looking at the Cafaro stuff.
Yeah,
and I have a couple of like standard issue 15-year-old solid frame packs, you know, that are just nothing special. Yeah. But I have yet to nerd out on backpacks.
Yeah, I think the load shelf's a little low on those older ones. I think that's one of the things that they're doing
you've
now.
Got a Kuiu pack.
Yeah. It's been good. I haven't used it a whole lot, but just any of these newer packs are going to be really good. But it sounds like you have to get the measurements right, so it's not one pack fits all. You have to measure. I think it's from like your iliac crest. I think it factors that in, like you're going from the top of your hip bones basically to like I think where your back would bend a little bit. But there's good stuff out there online to figure out how to measure right for the pack.
Yeah.
Or if you go to any of these like shows and they bring the packs out, you can try them on. Like that's why I went with QU, was because they came to a show close to my house and I could try it on and see what fit me. At the time.
Yeah. Good. Well, there's certainly a lot of stuff like that is not on this, but in terms of just like, this is the basics.
Yeah.
This is the basics, and we went through a few specifics of stuff that we're using, but we are going to Montana here sometime quite soon.
Yeah.
Hey, I do want to say too on this podcast, I'm not sure if we'll be making another one right away, but one of our films was selected to be in the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Film Festival.
The Rendezvous.
Yeah. We made a film about squirrel hunting on mules.
Yeah.
That made the cut. And you may have seen the film on YouTube, but this is a special Backcountry Hunters and Anglers version. That hunt took place on public land. And they told me that there were multiple, upwards of a dozen squirrel hunting on mule videos submitted, but ours was the best.
Yeah.
And so a guy actually from BHA actually said that to me, and I believed him. I was like reading this email in slow motion. I was just like, "You're kidding me! A dozen people submitted videos on squirrel hunting with the mules? This is ridiculous."
Yeah.
And then he put a little smiley face, and I realized he was kidding. But so our film will be in that. I'm looking forward to that.
The mules will be making a reappearance.
Yeah. So if you watch that, Smokey. I mean, Smokey's pretty old, so assuming that he lives through the departure. I mean, if Trey doesn't call me like tomorrow and go, "Man, Smokey passed away."
Yeah.
Colby will be riding Smokey in Montana.
Yeah. If not, I'll be hoofing it myself.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to figure out what you're going to be doing.
I'll be on one mountain, filming you on the other mountain.
Yeah. Me and Izzy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys, that'll conclude this. And if you have some suggestion for us, somehow contact us, let us know. And hey, do us a favor, give us a review on iTunes.
Yeah.
I think it helps get those 5-star or 4-star. Hopefully not much less than 3.
Yeah.
But get some reviews, and we really appreciate you listening. And hey, keep the wild places wild, 'cause that's where the bears live.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.